Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the FMA Dumpster Fire podcast. Happy New Year. Hope you guys all enjoyed the holidays. 2023 is here. And this is the first podcast of the year. Unfortunately, I started the year off by getting COVID. I don't know how I got it, but I tested. I got it. The symptoms are mild, a little bit congested. It's more like it affects my creativity. So I thought, hey, let's hop on a podcast. So I'm not sure if you guys know this guy, Ed Calderon, Ed Manifesto podcast. If you don't know who he is, check him out. We've become friends since we met in Arizona. This is a dude who has operational experience in the United States-Mexico border. He's into a lot of the dark arts, things that can't necessarily be taught publicly or shouldn't publicly. There should be some filter to it, and I think the Filipino martial arts falls into this category to some degree. In today's topic, speaking of Ed Calderon, by the way, you can check him out on the Lex Friedman podcast and on Joe Rogan. Really interesting cat. And he's also a practitioner of the Filipino martial arts. He does a lot of things like, hey, which household chemicals do we mix to disperse a crowd? And how do we relieve ourselves of restraints? Like, really cool stuff. And I think the Filipino martial arts, to some degree, any bladed arts, there ought to be some boundaries as to what is taught publicly. Now, personally speaking, for me, that line is a little bit loose, and I want to explain what I mean by that. A lot of Filipino martial arts students, instructors, practitioners, I shouldn't say a lot, but they're cautious about what they teach, and they have this imaginary line of, well, I'm going to teach this knife technique, but not this secret knife technique. And I've met quite a few who draw these lines based on actual ethical and moral lines, which is great. I respect that. And then there are other Filipino martial arts instructors who kind of just like dangling the magical carrot in front of their students so that they can pay for more, secret techniques, that kind of thing. I happen to believe that the deadliest of Filipino martial arts techniques are angle ones and twos, things that we don't necessarily need to be taught, that we don't need any special lessons, and some people say it's the combination of attacks, blah blah blah, that can be dangerous, or which areas of the body to target. But here's the thing: you watch any basic anatomy presentation on YouTube, and you're going to know what areas to strike, right? Like, you watch any medical show, you're going to know which areas to target. And so, again, understanding that the angle one is the deadliest of all techniques, and coupling that with, even a rudimentary understanding of where the big veins are, you can put two and two together, right? And for me, it's not that we're teaching these, secret, super deadly techniques, and all of a sudden the bad guy is going to know what to do. This stuff still requires work, and the opponent is going to have something to say about that, right? So that's one. By the way, the topic, if you can read it down here, is, and the reason why I mentioned Ed Calderon, because he often quotes Miyamoto Musashi, know your enemy, know his sword. And I feel as if a lot of Filipino martial arts practitioners are ignoring the know his sword part, right? And what does that mean? And please chime in. What do you think this means for a modern practitioner of the Filipino martial arts, to know your enemy and to know his sword? I feel like, okay, yeah, we know who the enemy is, right? The bad guys. which may change in appearance, in motivation, depending on who you are and where you live. But the know his sword part, I think, is critical. It's really, really important. What do I mean by that? And why do I think that that's largely being ignored by huge subsections of Filipino martial arts? I think knowing his sword, knowing your enemy's sword, is getting intimate with the tools that he uses, so that, and again, we're going to go black and white. We're going to go good guy, bad guy. And I know that's not how the real world works, right? But for conversation's sake, we can talk about it under these terms. So know your enemy, know your sword. I think a lot of Filipino martial arts have become detrimentally tribal, in that they are less welcoming of outsiders to participate in their events, and they're less willing to visit what other people are doing and expose themselves to what may be the enemy's sword, using these terms quite loosely. But basically, look, I understand if the mandate is strictly for art, history, and culture, that there is definitely a benefit to studying only one art with only one teacher within a small circle of people. But if Filipino martial arts instructors are going to propose any sort of credibility and validity as far as wanting to teach broader audiences within the context of self-defense, that instructor ought to know his enemy's sword. And what are these swords, right? We can look at it and just be like, hey, maybe we need to spend a little bit more time with boxing fundamentals. We need to know how to punch well. We certainly, to be able to defend against punches, we ought to know how they're being thrown from the perspectives of, different cultures, and cultures could include systems, right? Boxing. If you live in the United States or North America, or in any area where wrestling is part of growing up, you ought to know how to defend against a single leg, a double leg, a tackle, right? And I think when we become tribal in our Filipino martial arts studies, again, I'm not saying there's no value in preserving old ways and maintaining a focus on art, history, and culture. We're just talking about the self-defense element here, right? Because I see a lot of Filipino martial arts instructors who claim self-defense, but only, demonstrate attacks and adhere within how attacks are thrown within the system that they teach, which doesn't really make sense. And a lot of the attacks in Filipino martial arts, we kind of tend to skim over the stuff that comes out frequently, right? Like the angle ones and the angle twos, how they're thrown. I think there's been a disproportionately bigger focus on, technical perfection, rather than exploring how messy things actually get and preparing our defenses to meet that chaos, right? And so you see, when there's a divergence in the perfect attack, then the perfect defense kind of falls short. This is what we're seeing. And again, not talking about art, history, and culture. There was a post by Dr. Conrad Bowie lately, and he asked a question that's been asked many times before. Are firearms part of martial arts? Well, what do you guys think? I think so. I think it certainly is necessitated to become part of the Filipino martial arts when we propose FMA to be a valid self-defense option. And I'm not talking about like you need to be some gun expert, but you ought to know mechanically how different rifle types work. There's not that many, right? There aren't that many different types of mechanical action for rifles, right? You ought to know how to induce a malfunction, right? You ought to know how pistols work and what considerations may be necessitated if you're defending against a revolver versus, a modern polymer semi-auto pistol, right? And so I think when Filipino martial arts instructors want to propose, self-defense, these things ought to be explored. I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys, or do you think it will cloud things too much? Right? I don't know how all of you feel about this, but certainly the people that I talk to and that I tend to associate with, this isn't even an issue. Like it's a duh. Like you gotta know. You gotta know. And here's another thing that Filipino martial arts instructors, students, either purposefully neglect or just is defocused. And again, I might be beating a dead horse here, but knife deployment, man, knife deployment is so key. Like, what are some optimal deployment methods if you're carrying something that I think can be silly? There are some exceptions, but I think neck knives are a little bit, I don't know. It's 50-50, right? Because drawing a neck knife, it depends on what you're wearing, of course. And there are a few techniques that doesn't require deployment of a neck knife, but then you limit the kind of, options that you have. I like the whole idea of deploying the neck knife from the outside, but again, assets and liabilities, right? Let's get to the comments. Thank you guys for joining, by the way. We're just talking about what it means to be a modern practitioner of the Filipino martial arts, what we could all be doing, how we can communicate these things better, and maybe talk about why there are instructors who want to claim self-defense, but don't address things that actually happen quite frequently in self-defense contests, right? Double leg takedown attempts, tackles, haymakers, having a gun pulled on you, right? Because I personally think that there are concepts and principles contained, inherent within the Filipino martial arts that lend itself well to exploring these things. It's there. We're there. It's just the exploration is a little bit lacking. All right, Joshua Farr, agreed. You want to qualify the student first as being worthy or mentally stable. Unfortunately, people can't really be eyeballed. We all change and grow. Yeah. I think much has been made about, Filipino martial arts being too deadly. You got to be careful about who you let into your circle. But again, right? Like most of the Filipino martial arts circles that I've had access to, they're self-regulating. You can't be a psycho dude unless the circle is all psycho dudes, which we know which FMA system that is. Bikini Tersha. I'm just kidding. But again, it requires work. Right? Like I can tell. Did you guys see this video lately? It was a knife attack, and it was a murder, right? And the dude had his hand down, and he had this non-aggressive posture. He had the knife in the reverse grip, and this dude was standing in front of him, and then he hit him with a hook, bang, and then he backfisted with a thrust, bang, right in the neck. And it was from hands down position. The knife was concealed, boom, boom. Now, if I taught that, which I think I might have taught that in the Pakal grip because, I like boxing and Jeet Kune Do with a knife. I could have taught that you can do a lead hook followed by a back fist. I could have taught that, and I could have taught it with a knife. Now that criminal, right? If I have any sort of like a moral compass, I would feel bad, but I wouldn't take ownership and responsibility for demonstrating something as simple as a lead hook to a back fist with a knife, right? I would feel bad, but I wouldn't take accountability. And I would refuse any sort of call that, oh, it's because you made it public. I'm like, I think criminals know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And a criminal doesn't need to be taught these things that are essentially fundamental to so many different systems. And if the knife seems to be the available weapon that he has, or his weapon of choice, it's gonna look like trained stuff. Um, so as far as vetting the people that join your classes, I think that's a good idea, but it's really, really difficult. Psychopaths can hide their intention. Narcissists and all of these friggin' things we ought to be looking out for. They're very good at getting their way, right? You're not fighting Bruce Lee at Timmy's. Look at this guy dropping the Canadian references. Cheers. So knowing his sword is accepting the probable, which means facing ones and twos and centerline thrusts, not a 200-year-old esoteric technique. Yeah, for sure. Knowing his sword may be knowing the environment that you're likely to have to defend yourself, right? So knowing his sword in a practical sense for Filipino martial artists who live in the northern hemisphere where it snows, right? It could be that, these bad guys are wearing super sturdy, dope spiked boots in a wintertime, right? I ought to have a look at that. Good point, by the way. Yeah, we're not fighting Bruce Lee at the Tim Hortons. And so, just focusing on what's probable. But even from the perspective of what's probable, angle ones and angle twos, there are infinite ways that can manifest, right? If we take all of the elements in consideration, potential for multiple attackers, the environment that we're in, ground surface condition, that our emotional state, how tired are we? Are we drunk? All of these things. So thank you. Thank you, Iron Tree. Happy New Year, sir. To your point, how many FMA boys spend time with HEMA dudes? Pretty much all of the FMA boys in the boudoir do. Like we spar them. But again, I'm not saying that to show off. I'm just saying that, just be a little bit open to getting your ass kicked by somebody who might be more skilled than you at the thing you think you might be really, really good at. Be open to that experience. You only have growth to get from it. Maybe a little bit of humiliation on the spot, but you can't do something like stick fighting without getting smacked in the face by somebody who you ought to be outclassing. And I think that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing, right? Going back to the topic, know your enemy, know his sword. Some of us don't even know ourselves. We don't even know our own sword. We don't know that our own sword, so to speak, might be too heavy for us to be carrying, or might be cutting us without knowing and bleeding us out slowly. We're talking about ego now, right? Like we're talking about our hesitance to spar and to open our doors to other people so that we can learn from them, right? Like there are some Filipino martial arts instructors who claim to teach Dumog, and whether or not they claim any kind of superiority that Dumog might have over jiu-jitsu or wrestling, it's inconsequential. They don't cross-train with jiu-jitsu practitioners and wrestlers. And that's a danger, man. I've taken a handful of Dumog classes. I took one from Johannes Runninghoff. He characterized it as Dumog, but this guy is a German Jiu-Jitsu world champion, right? In the Bikini Tusha Tactical Association, there is Dumog, but Kenny Bigby Jr. is a black belt in Brazil, is a professor in Brazil. Correct. I'm not sure if he's a professor because I think a specific delegation. He's definitely a black belt. I think he's a professor, but there are multiple Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts in the PTTA, and when they teach something as Dumog, it's kind of they know they know what's up, and they tend to be open with the bridges and the similarities. But again, if you are too hung up on Dumog being authentic and you feel threatened by liberally stealing, borrowing, or being inspired by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling, your Dumog is gonna suck balls. It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. It is going to suck. Your Dumog is going to suck. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it, right? There's nothing in Dumog that is going to be in an island in and of itself. There is no technique in Dumog that you can't go, oh, that's a banana split in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or that's an omoplata, right? Or, that's an armbar. There's nothing that is going to be authentically unique in Dumog. I'm not talking about origins, right? I'm not talking about influence. I'm just talking about what we're actually trying to do, right? Bend that arm that way so that bad things happen. Lock up that heel in a certain way so that, bad things happen. There's just no way. There's no way. So your Dumog is going to suck, just as your Panantukan is going to suck if you don't, vet it against boxing. Sorry, I'm just saying. But this is what I mean. Again, we're not talking about art, history, culture. You want to preserve your art. You want to honor your village. All that stuff is great, and it has value. It has value over time. But again, Filipino martial arts can't have its cake and eat it too, right? It can't be. It can't claim to be just one or just the other, and also both of those things at the same time, without being honest with how that's delineated. I hope that's clear. Actually, no, that's not clear, because you can delineate them. You can delineate them by class, by lesson, by subsystem. We see it. I just see a lot of stews where it's kind of all thrown in the same pot, and it's like, this is classic Filipino modern martial arts self-defense art, right? Anyway, show us that hand movement of deployment from the front again. Yeah. Show us. You just want to learn it again. So one of my favorite deployment methods is appendix carry. Fixed blade from the front, right here. And I think that's a great, let me see. I have a knife there. And this. Oh, yeah. I have this. And I think starting appendix carry fixed blade with concealed one layer of clothing, it's a great start. But it just to get the mechanics down, you gotta get rid of your comment, Justin. So it's hands up or hands down. With your right hand, you throw a distraction strike as you simultaneously clear the garment, right? So this, you're going to count on that rebound. So it's going to hit, right? Hit, and it's going to bounce back. As you clear, you grab that knife, and then you deploy. Practice that. Go hit a dummy. It's bang, boom. Work it again. Hands up. Bang. Boom. And that's just the mechanics part of it. And then you got to be able to do it in a clinch. You got to do it off a teep. You got to be able to do it, right? Like the same mechanics. Like, what if I throw a haymaker first, right? We're fighting. I throw a haymaker and then I deploy, right? Maybe from the opposite side, bang, bang, and then I deploy. Then you got to do it with resistance. You got to do it on the ground. And that's just one blade type, one carry position. Knife deployment can be an entire subsystem of the Filipino martial arts. And I think the reason why it can is because it would take an extraordinary kind of expert to be able to teach it appropriately, because that expert instructor needs to be able to pass on knowledge on how to deploy multiple blade types, multiple blade lengths from different carry positions under a wide array of conditions. So whoever is going to be the expert at knife deployment in Filipino martial arts is going to need to dedicate a lot of time strictly to that. They're going to need to understand how to navigate themselves from clinch positions. They're going to need to know how to strike in order to facilitate a deployment. They're going to need to do it for fixed blade, for open assisting blades, right? So for that to become a subsystem, this dude needs to be a friggin' champ. I've been doing it for years, and I'm only fairly decent at that one thing: fixed blade, deployment, appendix carry position, right? There's so many different ones. There's like shoulder, holstered knives, back pocket. So anyway, tricky thing. Cheers. Old Man Still Can says, I don't understand why firearms would not fall under martial arts umbrella. We're all fans, I think, of movies like John Wick. Yeah, it is. And that's going back to know his sword. And again, as far as firearms training goes, just know basic marksmanship and know how these guns mechanically function so that you know how to induce a malfunction in case there's a situation where one is presented within the context of a self-defense condition. I'm not saying go out there and disarm, right? That's a whole nother topic. I'm just saying know how guns work, right? Know how to eject a mag, right? Like, do you guys know? Like, I know. You guys probably know, but do you know how to eject a mag versus unloading rounds from a revolver? Like, do you know what bits to pull or which buttons to depress and where they're typically located? You know, do you know how to induce a malfunction? All these things, super duper important, in my opinion, if you're going to be a self-defense dude. Hope this is making sense. I wanted this to be a short one, by the way. Old Man Still Can. I think John Hackelman posted that video on IG. I failed to notice the edged weapon. I did admire the movement, though. So John Hackelman is the head coach of Chuck Liddell. He's a friend of mine. I actually sent him that video, and he wants to do a little thing on it with me. He and I have been covertly collaborating on the back end. We've had some conversations about helping me codify the vast amounts of knowledge that I've gathered, because I while I may be educated, I'm not necessarily skilled at all of those things, right? That's just the truth. I'm learning so much. I can't dedicate time to just even crafting my jab. I think my jab still friggin' kind of sucks. You know what I mean? And I work on my jab, right? I work on having good, solid structure and playing with energy so that I'm not so easily taken down. But against a wrestler, bro, they're going to have their way with me for sure. There's so much to work on. Oh, Datu Kelly. The group cleans out questionable individuals. Difficult to sift through all students without personal engagement. But most instructors can sense misguided agendas. 100%. And the cool thing about your particular community is that there are so many gatekeepers, both outward and covert within your community that you've cultivated over the years. That there's an element of it being self-regulating, and this is the importance, right, guys? Quick divergence there of cultivating a good community, not just chasing the buck and presenting what's cool. Cultivating a good community will save you a lot of headaches downstream. Malicious intent can often, if not always, dominate technical skill. Mindset and intent is a brutal reality of assault. Now, isn't that interesting? What do we think about that? Malicious intent can often, if not always, dominate technical skill. How does knowing that, or how does believing that, change the way in which we train self-defense? I know for me, right? Like, I don't do nearly enough, but I mess with like big dudes who have done things, right? Yeah, that's that's basically it. Because while they may not be, especially when you're buddies, well, they're not actually trying to hurt you with malicious intent. Just by virtue of how much bigger and stronger they are, I think you can touch on a little bit of what that might be like. Okay. Holy crap. Thank you for the comments, guys. I appreciate you. I hope you guys are having a great new year. I'm drinking my apple juice because I've got COVID right now. I got COVID. I feel physically decent, but kind of on a creative low. And, I've not been sleeping well because of it. Little congested, runny nose. Hopefully soon this will be all be done. I'm going to get to your comments. Thank you, guys. I super appreciate it. We are talking about what it means to be a modern practitioner of the Filipino martial arts. I love Filipino martial arts, guys. I love it so much. It touched my heart and kind of gripped my soul. And I'm still going to call it a hobby for now. I can't claim to be, I can't really claim it to be a part of my lifestyle in the way that the disciplined people do. Or maybe I'm just living comparatively. Maybe it is part of my lifestyle. But in any case, I have much to learn. Anyway, yeah, that's what we're talking about. What does it mean to be a modern practitioner of the Filipino martial arts? We've talked about boxing, we've talked about wrestling, we've talked about vetting, we've talked about, intent and energy and firearms, all of these things of being welcoming to other people so that we can get our ass kicked. We talked about how Dumog is probably going to suck balls unless your Dumog is audited against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners and wrestlers. That your Panantukan is likely to suck balls if you don't vet it against boxers, right? Your sword work is probably going to suck balls if you only do it with people who practice the same system as you. Get with those HEMA dudes. Get with those African martial arts dudes. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like digging deep into stick fighting. Like, every culture has a stick fighting history. It's so primal. It's one of the it's like a wonderful thing that we can all do. Stick fight. All right. Sun Tzu. If you know the enemy, know yourself. You need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. Hilarious, of course, because it is so hard to know yourself. Well, you're getting philosophical there, bro. I might have to pause. Rain check on that one. Very philosophical. Harry Flexman, Fight Dad. What's up, my brother? Hey, man, good to see you, by the way. I love training sparring with Hema and Kendoka. A couple jump in and out of my classes, and get hit by them, my own students. Shout out to Dana Abbott, he's a high level kendo dude. He's like an American ninja. But I found myself in Las Vegas at the Martial Arts Super Show, and he was so gracious. We sparred just with padded sticks, but learned a lot, and it really inspired me. Like, top level, Japanese swordsman. Incredible stuff. And you know what? I posted it, man, because I did hit him, but he hit me. I think he hit me more. And it's just this kind of ego. I showed a lot of me getting my ass kicked. You know, I showed a lot of my mistakes, and I hope that inspires some people to be like, eh, look at this clown showing his mistakes. Maybe it's okay for me to show this one little mistake also. Got to show your mistakes. Okay, we got a HEMA. That's a Filipino. Pow with a HEMA statement. Salute, bro, with an open minded opinion. All the respects from the Igorot Highlands of the Philippines. Awesome, bro. Yeah, you guys get right into it. You know, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I look at Filipinos in the Philippines doing HEMA and I'm like, sad face. Why aren't they doing Filipino martial arts? But then I'm like, what an amazing resource. No doubt that you cross train. What an amazing resource. What a great opportunity for Filipino martial artists to cross train with blood brothers who are focusing their studies on something that is similar, related, certainly relevant to one another. So more power to you and your group. I know you cross train with Filipino martial artists and all the rest of them. Yeah, those HEMA dudes, man. You know what I find interesting about HEMA? Like they don't got videos. They're piecing this stuff together from like manuscripts and scrolls, right? And then there are people who are like, well, you can't learn anything from YouTube. I'm like, motherfucker, these guys are doing it from paper that's falling apart. Of course, you can learn stuff from YouTube. You just got to put in the work. And again, being part or part of being a modern Filipino martial arts practitioner is YouTube. Is taking your phone, filming your sparring matches. And here's another one. Okay, you got some shit talker dude online, right? And he's like giving everybody else advice about what to do and how to do it properly. And then, one of the things that I sometimes comment with is like, hey, bro, you got any videos of you sparring? I'd like to learn in that way. And a comment that often pops up from them is like, I don't got time to film it when I spar. I'm like, really? You don't got time? Like, you don't have time to like lean this up against a tree and like hit record, or like to be like, I don't film my sparring matches so that I get to show off. I'm like, no, you film your sparring matches so that you can take it frame by frame when you get home, soak it in the tub after you've gotten your ass kicked, and try to determine what you can do better based on the mistakes that you made. I just think a lot of people claim to spar that don't actually do, right? Or they spar, but it's like they spar with their like top student who loves them and wouldn't dare bring their best. Competitive energy, man. Hard to manufacture from somebody who is like super dogmatic and loves you. I get it. I get it. All right, Tuhan Rapagan. What is this photo, man? Look at you. Guy's Tinder profile. New World. You have Joe Snuff ordering DVDs, financing online training platforms, learning from YouTube and other platforms when reality can be or I have no idea. Can you rewrite that in English next time, bro? Just okay, hold on. You have Joe Snuff ordering DVDs, financing online training platforms, learning from YouTube and other platforms when reality can be or are criminals too. I think what you're trying to say is that you can learn from online sources or not. I don't. Do it slowly and repeatedly. Only the right hand, no knife. What? I don't know what that means. Oh, you mean the knife draw? You want me to do it slowly and repeatedly? Only the right hand with no knife? What hit, bang. Oh, look at that, eh? Sorry, I'm picking my scab. Knuckle scab. Boom. There's your punch. At the same time, we're clearing this garment. Bang or hit or fit or palm strike lift, bang, bang, whoa, yeah, and then a dance, monkey dance. No, it's not one of those. Not one of those podcasts. I'll show it. Shout out. This was initially inspired by Tuhan Ray Dianaldo from FCS. Although he doesn't do it. Or when I was first inspired to work on rapid knife draw, he had open carry on his right hip. But same idea, right? Like using beats and rhythm to develop speed, and then that's as much as I got from Tuhan Ray. And then I got my crew and my people and my brain on it, and I was like, okay, this is cool. We can do it. Boom, we can draw really, really fast. What happens? Can I draw this under resistance? Yeah, one of the most eye-opening experience was rolling with Greg Nelson as I tried to deploy my knife. How quickly he got to my knife and used it against me in the clinch and on the ground is freaking scary, guys. It sort of changed the course of my knife draw game. Anyway, long story short, right? Like if you think you're going to draw your knife in the clinch or while grappling, you better have a pretty damn good pulse that the person you're rolling on the ground with isn't better than you at grappling. Even then, 50-50, you're going to cut yourself. Yes, my art covers everything. Ancient art form, but modern. Hardcore athletics, sporting applications, and real-world self-defense where you don't have to be big and strong to make it work. Yeah. Yes, bro. Marcus Miranda. There you go. Here's another bad dude with a soft side and a artsy philosophical. This guy's a Marine. I think I know your firearms instructor still. Marine, always a Marine. Not sure if you're a cop. You a cop? You got to tell me if you're a cop. Okay, Marcus. Another dude that I met at one of the best martial arts seminars you can ever attend, which is Datu Kelly Warden's Water and Steel. You meet different dudes. You know, you'll see a dude like Marcus, doing yoga in Spanx. Not literally, but I'm trying to express that, people are nuanced, and, this guy does sous vide videos online, but he's a bad motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? All right. What did he write? Firearms. I love you, bro. It's been a while. Firearms are a martial art depending on your mindset. If you're looking for belts, there's an art called Hujutsu. Oh, yeah. 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 Who wants to get a belt in shooting? I guess some people do. I guess that's why firearms instructors have pistol fundamentals level 1, 2, 3, and then you can go to pistol mastery levels 5 through 8. I guess. Yeah, you can't teach it all at once. I get it. You know what is kind of troubling is that, and I've had people like Todd Foster, Instructor Zero, kind of hammer this into me. It's like, the range is a static environment. Everything is controlled. You can only work certain things on the range. You got to take it out of the range with inert training tools to really bring it all together. And my wife's home, so I got to go. Thanks, Marcus. Thank you for that, brother. GM Yules is watching. Yules. I like that. How are you? How are you, sir? One of the finest ambassadors of movement and interpretation of Khaleesi Illustrissimo right there, ladies and gentlemen. Gracie Guy. That Yuli Romo. I love this dude. I don't know how you guys feel about this, man, but I love super energetic, crazy Filipino martial arts masters. And the fact that they've maintained such enthusiasm over the years, it's absolutely amazing. Hey, babe, I'm doing a podcast. That's okay. Welcome home. Yeah, they can hear you right now. How was work? It's good. Anyway, nice of you to be here, GM Romo. With that, I'm saying accountability. I agree with you, Rubio. So we got a Ranger up in the house with a Marine in the house. Who else we got here? Bunch of cool dudes. Anyway, okay. Dana has always talking about Dana Abbott. Dana's always been game to spar other styles. He's always supportive of cross art exploration. Absolutely. Yeah. Hope you recover quick. Sorry to hear you're sick. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's not bad actually. Again, it's I don't know. I tested twice, both positive for COVID. Luckily it's mild, a little bit of congestion, sore throat. My body feels all right. I've been hitting the mitts with my son, but it's creatively draining. So this has been really amazing for me to just talk about a topic like Filipino martial arts. It's so like invigorating, and it gets my mental juices flowing. Be safe, everyone. The world is not sane. Yes, bro. Some fuckery's going on, but I don't want to get this video. I already said COVID. Forget it. It's going to get 0 views after it's live, so we might as well go full debauchery here. What about that woke left wing? Just joking. The world is crazy. The world it's beautifully crazy. Great to be alive, right? What a friggin' blessing to watch the shit show unfold and just have a chuckle and a laugh at the craziness. You know what else is crazy, guys? You know what else is crazy? How much we care about Filipino martial arts and bladed arts. Like, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing? What is this? What is this crazy thing? Bladed arts. Why is it such a big deal that I talk about know your enemy, know your sword? Who cares? Who cares? That's the truth. That's truth. And why am I being so, what does it mean to be a modern practitioner of the Filipino martial arts, and kind of softly brush the art, history, and culture? Where the truth is, those things probably matter more to me personally. It's just that I want to see all of the Filipino martial arts rise. Yeah, that's what I want because I love it. It changed my life. So that's it. Thank you. Today we discussed what does it mean to be a modern practitioner of Filipino martial arts. And I suppose in short, and it seems like everyone agrees, we need to take into consideration what the enemy is doing, how they're evolving, the tools that they're utilizing. We have to take those things into consideration and to make appropriate preparations for them if it is our mandate to be prepared for such things. If your mandate is simply art, history, culture, and exercise, leisure, Filipino martial arts is perfect. Absolutely perfect. I love it. There's nothing like clicking sticks with another human being and trying to hit him in the head. But if we are going to propose it to have some capabilities as far as self-defense goes, it's worth looking into those other things. So, I appreciate all you guys, the quality of the people that tune in. Absolutely incredible. I appreciate your commentary. Thank you so much. I hope that we have a really, really good 2023. I really do. And I feel like as far as Filipino martial arts is concerned, it's going to be an amazing year. So get out there, spar, and just explore. Thank you. I'm going to be doing another one of these. I'm so unreliable as far as schedule goes, but I'm going to try to do more of these, and hopefully not just me yapping again. So if you guys want to go on and have a chat with me, just message me. Damn it. I gotta go message Coach Danny Terrell because I wanted to hop on a podcast with him, but we're gonna do all of you. One more comment from Marcus. Evolution of an art doesn't happen without knowing its history nor testing it against other arts as they may have been created from them. That is a great way to wrap things up. That is encapsulating of know your enemy, know his sword, know yourself. Thank you for your support. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished. Stop.
Get up. Never got no Gotta wake up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh.
Get up. Get up.
Before it launch the counterattack.